That was a wee joke.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
So this is going to be interesting because there's two of me in the sense that there's an instrument and there's a mouth and there's only one mic. So I'm not quite sure how I'm going to juggle it between us. So I might. Can you hear this so far? Yeah. Is it all right? Is it audible? I feared as much. Is that all right? Apart from being able to. Are there any songwriters here?
I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Only the shout.
Only this. Now that's good. Always good when there's a few. So the seasoned songwriters always see the joints and complain afterwards what I've done wrong. So this is I've done plenty wrong in this one. But you know, as you'll know as writers yourself, sometimes you can write something that is inspired by a particular moment or the feeling of a particular moment. And the years pass, maybe you never play it, maybe you never admit to having written it, and suddenly, for some reason it is usually beyond your control, it acquires fresh relevance, or else it doesn't. But sometimes it does both. So this is an old song that was written about the Depression of 1929. Well, God bless and save the banks, for it's to them we owe our thanks. This was the American's prayer. May the rainbow be unending, and the managers always lending, and may we all stay millionaires. May we buy and may we borrow against some grand tomorrow. No, it does not really matter from where. But when the whole thing came unstuck, why then they did not give a buck. Mainly because the buck had stopped right there. The day it started raining millionaires on Wall Street. The sky grew as grey as ash. Your poor rich pauper has come a proper cropper, and he's gone down in the crash. Jesse Livermore's in the laboratory with a Luger. He's counting out his creditors on a tall sheet, and the boss is on the 6th floor. Did not take the lift, for it had started raining millionaires on Wall Street. The day the dollar started dropping down the drain pipes, the sharks fell sharper than the shares. They cut out the wide talk and headed for the sidewalk, while investors were running up the stairs. Now some start sweating when the weather gets warm. Some, like Joe Kennedy, pulled out before the storm. Some said it sounded sweet to be paddling with your feet the day it started raining millionaires on Wall Street. Oh mama, life was a paper chase when someone else was paying through the nose. But it's some bloody flutter when you're floating to the gutter. Do you remember my pal Paul? Look up, there he goes. The day it started raining millionaires on Wall Street. The floods soon swept the countryside, and all the beasts and all the boys on every ranch could sniff the poison as the showers made the flowers dip and die. So what if your streets are lined with gold? Someone starts sneezing, so we all catch cold. Yeah, that was reckoning time. You got a dozen for a dime. The day it started raining millionaires on Wall Street. I was asking that, that kind of stuff. Fooling no one. I was asking all that stuff about songwriters because in my limited experience, sometimes poems get tunes put to them and they turn into what we know as songs. And sometimes a song starts out on the journey towards being written, but it doesn't get a tune, and this we sometimes call a poem, or else an unset lyric. I'm not sure what this one is, but this next one is, but it hasn't got a tune, so I guess it's a poem. And it started by, you know how sometimes you hear, as writers, you hear phrases coming at you out of the blue, from the radio, from a conversation in motion down a passing street, a snatched remark that you hear from the other side of the bar, and it sets something going in you, and suddenly you find yourself in the middle of a dialogue or an exchange that you didn't know belonged to you, and you try and take possession of it. I heard these words on the radio one morning, and they came at me just in this completely disembodied form, and the words were Deborah, the Dowager Duchess of Devonshire. And I thought that's an interesting combination of words. I know nothing of the woman, but it's an interesting combination of words. Moreover, it sounded to me as though it was written in the form of a pentameter. Deborah, the Dowager Duchess of Devonshire. So I thought, I'm having that. So that was the title, and it was also the first line. Then where to take it from there. So here's an attempt to do just that. Deborah, the Dowager Duchess of Devonshire. That's the title. Deborah, the Dowager Duchess of Devonshire, doesn't dwell, and never did, in Devon, but in Derbyshire, while the Duke of Gloucester lives in London and seldom sees the Severn. Edinburgh, as we know, resides in Buckingham Palace, while, to my limited line of knowledge, the Duke of Rutland lives in Arundel, West Sussex, which is nowhere near Norwich, all of which must go to say a lot about the nature of the English toff. But mostly, when you think you've got them placed, you're actually a very long way off. Do you remember, or did you, does the name Le Pétoman mean, wonderful recognition. Oh, my little heart leaps whenever I hear familiarity expressed in Le Pétoman. Would someone like to volunteer and say succinctly who and what Le Pétoman was? Because I've tried so many times and I've never got near it. We have two. Would you like to do the first half? Yes, please, madam.
Professional farter.
Professional farter. Any? Would you?
He was a French cabaret artist.
Fantastic. Extraordinary. That's fantastic. So he was a French farter of the Edwardian era. And
famous in his day.
I'm sorry?
He was extremely famous, like all over.
He was.
Conferences, everything.
Thank you. Thank you, Dónall. I'm heartened by that because sometimes I've tried this on, it's fallen flat, and people didn't know what I was talking about. Yes, sir, over there. Yeah.
Even Ivor Bigham and his Red Nose Burglars did a song just about that man.
Did they?
Yes.
And how did it go?
No, Andy.
No.
I don't remember the words, but he was smart for it.
Okay, so And,
All right, keep it clean now. Keep it clean.
Thanks. Thank you very much. And the next question is, can you hear that all right? Yeah, okay. That's the best I can do, but we'll manage. So anyway, this one of the things that puzzled me is why our nationality, given our sense of humour and our proclivities, hadn't got our réponse, our answer to a lepetomane. And this song imagines that we have had just one such individual. And I've called him Martin because songwriters are always looking for rhymes.
That was Bart. Would have to be Bart.
This is going all wrong. And
I'm working in an autistic school at the moment, and I'm in sixth form. The sixth formers are great, but the little ones are as mad as birds altogether, and they like sounds. So for 5 minutes they'll chant Bart, 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 fart, like that. So same thing.
No, thank that's I feel supported. Anyway, so this was an I'll tell you about this song before because then you can make up your own mind about it when I do it. Is that it's one of those songs, and you must know the feeling about this, because if you say you don't, I won't believe you. Which is, you write something and you think it's serious, and then someone says that was very funny. So yeah, that's funny. Or you try the opposite thing, and you attempt to write a comedy item, and people say, that's really deep. So you don't quite know. So you don't quite know how it's going to go. So anyway, I want you to imagine the day after our imaginary hero Martin has died. The first person of the narrator of this song, is reading the paper, and I see everybody, public figures, politicians, rich men, praised and lauded in the obituaries, with nothing about Martin. So this is an attempt to see justice done. Martin in the Mitre. Pub. Must admit to being a little bit depressed, not to say distressed, to see the name of Martin's been omitted from the press today of all days, him having passed away only yesterday. But in the pages of the recent dead, the freshly fled, the newly laid, there was displayed the name of Sir Jeremy 1%. A noble piece of work that show. Master of the pearl, greatly elevated, hugely decorated. Learned the name of 1%, came down from noble French descent. Un percent is what it meant, for a singular gent was 1%. Maybe, still this meant nothing to me. Martin, I should explain, was a sewer man from down the drain, retired now, unhired now. The labours of his life I won't enumerate. Still they were as vital and as bold as determining the value of gold, which was up to Jeremy did in his later years. 3 cheers. But nonetheless, I digress. Martin was just another yokel, vocal in the local, sinful after a skinful. Still no pretensions, how could he on that pension? At closing time every night in the Mitre, when the coppers had ejected the fighters, he would clear the floor and all the regulars would roll. Come on, Martin, do it once more. And he would pop the flame from a gun at 47 paces, without his braces and doing up his laces. And he also did some tunes, including Blue Moon, the land of Mr. Headley would request a medley, and Martin would perform upon his window song. Okay, I see you grin, it's been done in Paris and Berlin, but not so far as we know in Guildford. Now, Jeremy 1% was bent on turning people into pence, and I think it would have been justice if the man on the papers who sourced the slips had cut out a couple of column inches, maybe 3 or 4 at a pinch, and found for Martin an inch or 2, don't you? 'cause we all have to go sometimes, some in virtue, some in crime, whether old, whether young, sound in the liver, sound in the lung. It's been this way since the world began, for the belted urn and the common man, and for all Sir Jeremy's fancy crest. I was not frankly too impressed. Why do we put our trust in just such men as these? Must we? For every boom there's a bust, for every bodywork there's rust, for every body there's dust, for every love there's a lust, for every squire there is a scandal, for every nun there is a candle, and Martin in that mitre was worth a dozen of those blighters. Now the only difference between the two is that Martin never took money from you. I think he was worth an inch or two, don't you? A little bit too well, because the chorus is, how can I be a has-been when I've never been a bee?
Story of my life.
I dedicated to Dónall. So about a wedding, you know.
Yes.
You know what I'm
I
saying.
never tell for the song about it.
So, but if you do think you're getting the hang of it, and you by the third or fourth or 17th time, you do join it. Young, 21, had myself a plan. Make my name a thing of fame, I was that kind of man. Celebrity was the one for me, and by hitting on that miss, I'd never know the pain of the bitter refrain that goes just like this. How can I be a has-been when I've never been a bee? How can I sing about being the king if I've never had the queen? I am blue because I never was a meant to be a man of means. Can I be a has-been when I've never been a bee? I got me a girl, teeth like pearls, how her kisses thrilled me. She had a mark called K. Sarah, who married Mr. Wilby. Now she, like me, never wanted to see another, one time wanted to be. So we saddled up the pink gold, gonna be big, headed for the state of me. Now the years flew by like a bird in the sky, and all of our friends got famous. I put a picture of us on the back of a bus. No one in the world could name us. Now some folks tell us that we're just plain jealous, looking through a glass of green. Gonna turn a drink, even to a shrink, 'cause we ain't worth a row of beans. How can I be a has-been when I've never been a bee? How can I sing about being the king if I've never had the queen? I'm blue because I never was a man to be a man of means. How can I be a has-been when I've never been a bee? It's a proper disgrace when you gotta have a face that's familiar in all locations. Terrible trend, ain't got an end, heading out across the nation. So the very best cure is to stay obscure, where there ain't no do's or don'ts. I don't pay bills, I don't make a will, but I might just make a won't. Now it don't mean a thing if I've never been playing, and I'm never gonna be a blade. Cars fading, wealth just vanish, your health like a hypochondriac needle. 30 years old and you turn to gold from your boot heels to your brain. I'd rather stay sane, so I'll do the refrain, but I'm never gonna do it again. How can I be a has-been when I've never been a bee? How can I sing about being the king if I've never had the queen? I'm blue because I never was a man to be a man of means. How can I be a has-been when I've never, now we slow down here, been